So let me give you all a cold start. Haven't started in like 2 days. Oh, that's good. J series. Don't mind the mess. Haven't cleaned. Alright, let me set the. And don't mind all the lights. I will explain that right now. Let me set this camera up. Alright, so. Pretty much. I just showered. If you watched any of my other videos, which you probably haven't, but you should go check them out. But I just showered. I was driving around, you know, whatever, recording. This is my third video today. So that's good. I'm on a roll. But I'm gonna go pay my sub right now, my siding sub. He said he's gonna be done in a bit, so I'm gonna go pay him, and on the way there I'll record. I'm taking out the Honda Easy, the Accord. But yeah, today I wanna, well not today, right now I wanna talk about internal battles, internal conflicts that you go through. So everyone has these, you know, I've had them all my life. You know, it's things that I fight with myself about. I don't know if that's how you say it. I battle myself in this aspect. You know, I don't want to get into it too much. Not yet, at least. Maybe later on. But there's a lot of things that I've had to fight myself for years, or it could be months, weeks, days, who knows. One of them is the urge to buy cars. That's not really a big one. I mean, it's not like I can just go out and like, you know, it's not as easy as like going to buy a pack of cigarettes or something, you know, one of those urges. But yeah, the urge to buy a car, personally at least, is really big. My fucking first world problems. But yeah, like, you know, I've been head over heels over many cars. You know, I want a C5, I want a G30 540i, I want an ISF or an RCF. I want a GX 470. I want an LX. I want so many cars, and I want to go out and buy one. But I know that the way that my life is set up, the way I want my life to be set up, I should say, the way that the plans that I have for my life, I can't just go out and splurge like that. I can't, because if I do, I burden or I risk, you know, losing in certain aspects, and I can't do that. I'm trying to be as how do I say this, as responsible, financially responsible as I can be. I don't want to go into debt for a car. I told myself that when I buy a car, it'll be cash. But then again, I see cars that I like, and I think to myself, yeah, I could buy it, but that could also buy me the framing for a house. You know, that could buy me the stone for the exterior. That could pay for the tile and the countertop, you know, whatever. So that's something that I struggle with. You know, dumb little struggle, but it's something that I do. Like, I think about cars all the time. I love cars. I'm obsessed with cars. Completely obsessed with cars. I like any car. I like Hondas. I like BMWs, Mercedes, Audis. I like everything. There's nothing I don't like. Well, certain cars. But there's, like, nothing I don't see the point of, I should say. You know? Besides the fact, there's a lot of internal battles that we all go through. You know? Whether it be at work, at school, you know, with relationships with your partner, with your family, friends, whatever. These are internal conflicts that you go through, and I'm willing to say most of us lose all the time. One of them for me was when I was younger. I loved vaping, and it was really dumb, but I love nicotine. You know, that was an internal, especially back then, because all my friends were doing it. You know, I was in high school, everyone was doing it. It was easy to get access to, even though I was young, underage. I was still able to get access to it, and pretty easy. You know the right person, they can go buy it for you, or they're selling it themselves, etc. And they're cheap. You know, but I won that conflict on the long run. You know, I would struggle with it. I'd quit for like a week, and then I'd go right back to it. And then again and again and again. You know, I think the longest back then that I quit for was probably like 4 or 5 months, and then I got back onto it, and then I quit. Now every now and then, I mean, especially who I am nowadays, the person I am nowadays, I don't I don't go out and vape. I don't go out and buy cigarettes. I don't go out and buy vapes or anything. If someone has one and they offer, sure, but that doesn't happen around the people that I'm with, so I don't. But other than that, that's like, I guess that can be an internal or external conflict. It can be external, but I feel like internal more than anything is like things that have to do with you, and I feel like that for sure is an internal conflict. So maybe you don't like the way someone talks to you at work, and you try so hard to be nice, and you try so hard to not fight, and this and that. That's an internal conflict, because you're trying to not let it out. But the moment you respond to them in a negative way, matching their energy, as they say, you made it an external conflict. Now that person doesn't see you the same. Now that person has a problem with you. Now you have a problem, right? It can be the same thing. We can say like alcohol. Alcohol. You're an alcoholic, whatever. You like to drink. You're drinking. At first it's an internal conflict. I'm messing up my body. I'm drinking more than I should. I wake up hungover. I don't like how I feel, etc., etc. Then you start drinking too much and you start driving. Now it's an external conflict. Now you're risking people's lives. Now you're risking a DUI. You're doing this. You're doing that. You're risking problems. And it can be very bad problems. I don't condone drunk driving at all. I'm 100% against it. I'm a drunk driver hater, full-time hater for drunk driving, whatever. Alright, I said in a previous video that I wouldn't edit my videos, but I got a call, so I had to answer that, whatever. What were we talking about? Yeah, external, internal conflicts, whatever. You have to win those. You have to do your best, and it's gonna suck, it's gonna hurt, it's gonna be really uncomfortable, you're gonna feel like you're losing yourself, and for the most part you are. You're losing a part of yourself. That is the point of winning an internal conflict. You're getting a part of yourself that you're conflicting with, and you're removing it from your body. From, not your body, but who you are, your person. You don't like that you drink, you remove that, it's gonna be hard. But now there's gonna be a void. And it's gonna be so easy to just get that and replace that hole, that void, fill it up. And then you're like, okay, I can do that and I'll feel better. But no, you have to replace it with something worthwhile. Okay, you quit drinking, what do? Go hit the gym. Go on a run. Read a book. Do this, do that. There's so many positive things you can be doing instead of, I'm not going to say drinking is negative. Drinking is a negative thing. It can be hurtful to your body. It can be hurtful to your mind, to your family, to relationships. Drinking can be a negative thing in excess. My mom's always said everything in moderation is okay. Most things. But yeah, so you have to really understand that it's not going to be easy. But if you want to become a better person, if you want to become the best version of yourself, you have to go through with it. You have to get rid of that part of yourself. You have to say, okay, I'm done doing this, and I'm going to start doing this. I quit playing video games. I sold my Xbox. I'm going to nerd out real quick. I was really good at Call of Duty, especially Black Ops 3. That still to this day, I was still playing it. And I would go like, I'd have like a 3-4 KD every match. I was doing super good, but I was going nowhere. I was simply playing a video game. I was wasting my time, and I didn't like that because there could be so many productive things I could be doing. Like one of them that I said I would do was make videos, and to this day, I sold it like a couple months ago, and I barely started making videos today. And I'm gonna keep up with it. I'm not gonna stop because I have to become, like I said, the best version of myself. And to do that, you have to go through uncomfortable things. And I might get uncomfortable, making these videos. It is pretty uncomfortable. I'm not gonna lie. I'm in traffic, right now I'm speeding. But, it's uncomfortable sitting in traffic, and I try not to look at people because I know damn well they're looking at me. And I know damn well they're judging me. They're like, oh, what is he doing? Why is he recording himself? Whatever. It's a little uncomfortable. But if I want to lose, what's the word? Like embarrassment, if I want to lose that aspect of myself, because I have to, you know, with the career that I'm trying to pursue, the business that I'm trying to make, you have to not be embarrassed. I have to be able to get off at people's houses, go knock on their doors and talk to them. I have to be able to go up to a random stranger on the street and talk to them. I have to. You know, sometimes, like, I can for the most part, but it's hard at times. You know, it's really hard at times. I have to lose that embarrassment. So I feel like there's a good way to do it as well. See, I'm multitasking now. But it just takes time. It takes effort. It takes a lot of effort, man. This isn't easy. And I'm not talking about YouTube. YouTube is, for the most part, it's pretty easy. I'm talking about, you know, becoming the best version of yourself. You know, I just saw that woman right now, and we made eye contact, and I know she saw the camera. That was, you know, that's what I'm talking about. Like, it like makes me think about, like, oh, what is she thinking? You know, I want to lose that aspect of myself. That's an internal. See, perfect. It all worked out. That is an internal conflict. That is an internal conflict that I go through. I'm very easy to feel embarrassed, you know, and I want to lose that aspect because, like I said, I just went on a rant about that. I'm not going to do that again, but for the most part, you have to know who you want to be. And in order to be that person, you have to, as I say, fake it till you make it. So I'm going to fake that I'm already a YouTuber with like 100 billion subscribers. And, you know, I do this for a living, or not living, but I do this and whatever, you know. I do this already. I'm a professional YouTuber. I know everything about this. I've gone through this a million times. I am not embarrassed anymore. So that's how I'm feeling about it. Like I said, it's not easy, but it's doable. It's possible. It's not impossible. It's not the end of the world if a lady sees me, a stranger that I've never seen, that I'm never going to see again, just saw me on the street talking to a camera in my car. You know? Nothing's going to happen. I'm fine. You know? Did I die? No. Hopefully not. I wouldn't, right? I don't know. Well, if I die, you guys know why. But, you know what I mean? You have to really be... I want to say big words, but I don't know big words, okay? Like, I don't know a lot of big words. You have to really know what you want out of life. And when you know that, that's when you start working towards it. And everything that you do will just fuel the ship that you're on to get to where you want to be. Do you get what I'm talking about? Alright, I'll meet you guys right now. I'm gonna pay this guy and then I'll come right back. Alright, so I completely forgot what we were talking about. I don't want to go through the video, but I'm pretty sure I left on a good note. I hope so. If not, I'll probably not do anything about it. But I just paid my guy. He walked me around the house. So I also got the stone on that house. I'll probably be back to do that. Well, I have a guy for that too. I'll probably be back like next week or so, and that's when I'll walk you guys around the house, because they're gonna paint it tomorrow, and then we're gonna go paint it probably next week. Anyways, that's not the point. The point is, I don't like this camera angle. The point is that once you really find out who you want to be, everything that you do will build towards that. Every single little thing, whether big or small. Everything. You know? I try, when I talk to people about, you know, when I meet people and they're like, oh, what do you do? I don't tell them, oh, I do construction. No. I tell them, you know, not construction. I don't know. But I don't, like, try to, you know, tell them something that I'm not. I tell them exactly who I am, because that is, you know, even if I'm not there, you know, I'll tell them, yeah, I'm a contractor. You know, I'm a builder. You know, general contractor. And that way people, you know, they get that ingrained in them. And then it's like, I've done a lot of jobs where I didn't know what the hell I was doing, but I found someone else to do it, you know, and then I pass them on. I've done jobs where, you know, I send the person, you know, I have people that paint, I have people that do siding, that do roofing, that do, you know, concrete, that do stone, that everything, you know, and sometimes, you know, I get some money out of it, or sometimes I just send them that way and get them paid, you know, and it takes a lot of, like I said, you have to lose that embarrassment, because it's really hard. Like, I don't know. You guys probably think I'm like stupid because I'm I don't know how to convey what I'm trying to say. That's pretty much what I'm getting at. You have to really have a clear understanding of who you want to be, because once you have that understanding, you can see how on your day-to-day life you can work towards being that. You know, maybe you do certain things that don't benefit who you want to be, and you can change them or modify them to be, you know, on that perfect path. You know, there is no perfect path. Okay, let me just say that. There is no perfect path to success. Everybody's path is different. Everybody, it's like the sun and the moon. They both shine at different times, okay? Everybody shines differently. It doesn't matter if you copy someone, they might have it better than you. They might have done this differently than you. They might do that differently than you. You know, they might have had a rich dad. They might have had a trust fund from their grandparents. They might have won the lottery. They might have bought a stock at the right moment, you know, put all their money onto a stock, and then boom, it skyrocketed. Now they're a millionaire, whatever, you know? Everybody's path is different. So don't ever go out and compare yourself with people, because you're gonna soon find out that it's not worth it. Everyone is different. You're in a better place than a lot of people, but there's a lot of people in a better place than you. Okay? Like I said, everybody shines at different times. I know people who live lives I'd love to live, you know? Okay, let me rephrase that. Monetarily, materialistically, okay? That is a clear thing. I am extremely happy with my life. Both of my parents are alive. My siblings, my two sisters, they're alive and well and healthy. You know, everyone in my family's healthy. My wife, she's healthy. My wife's parents are healthy. My wife's brother is healthy. Everyone in my life that I love and adore is doing well. They're all healthy. There's a word for it. I don't want to say alive, because that's such a strong word, but you get what I mean? Like, they're all well. They're all healthy. They're all happy. And that, to me, that speaks more than anything. That speaks more. If I had all the money in the fucking world, but my mom was to pass away, I could never buy her back. Ever. So it's like, why am I gonna be upset because I don't have the car that I want? Why am I gonna be upset because I don't have the house that I want? You know? And the thing is, I have been upset about certain things, about cars more than anything. Like I was talking about, I've been not extremely, but I've been upset about cars before. I've been like, you know what? Like I really want this car, and then I don't get it, and then I'm upset. I'm frustrated with myself. You know, why can't you get this? Why I could just get in debt and get it? But it's like, it doesn't matter. It won't benefit me in any way if I get a car, you know? I've had this car. I wanted this car in high school. When I was a sophomore, I saw one of these blacked out. All black, murdered out. I fell in love. I had never seen a Honda Accord Coupe. You know, I got really into cars in high school. Let me just say that. You know, I've always been like into cars, but when I say into cars, I mean like Koenigsegg's, like, you know, Pagani, stuff like that. I was into like the hype stuff, the really big stuff, you know. And then that's when I started finding about JDM, you know, and JDM cars got me into cars, especially Honda. But then after that, you know, I started, you know, to learn about other cars. I got into, now I'm into anything. I love all kinds of cars. I don't care. None of them, you know, speak more than others to me, at least, you know. There's brands. I don't want to get into that right now. The point is that, hold on, I'm gonna do a pull. The point is that at the end of the day, I wanted this car. I got this car. I'm extremely happy with this car. I got it sitting just how I want it. You know, I could have a better exhaust. I just have a muffler delete, but it's whatever. I'm not tripping on it. You know, I have it lowered. I have it sitting on wheels that I wanted. You know, my dream wheels were for this car at least, were Vossen CV3s, but I couldn't find them, and I just didn't want to. I don't want to deal with raising the car and all that, so I just put on some 18s. But they're still nice wheels. But I am where I wanted to be when I was in high school. When I was 17, 18, I got this car when I was 18. I believe so. Yeah, it was the year that I graduated. It was before I graduated high school. I remember I went with my mom to the dealer. I signed for the car with my mom as a co-signer so I can get lower interest rates, whatever. And then I traded in a car that I had, another Honda Accord. I traded it in for this. I wanted this car lowered. I wanted this car to be loud. I wanted this car to be fast. I wanted to put bolt-ons. I wanted to get a K-tuner for it. I wanted so much. So much. And then I started growing. I started working. I started working with my dad. When I started working with my dad, I started getting a lot of money. Now me, I like to fucking go out and eat. I love to fucking go out and eat. It's a problem that I've been dealing with since I started working. But I realized that, not me. My parents realized that, okay, you need a responsibility. So I started paying bills at the house. I started doing this, started doing that, blah, blah. At the end of the day, I had money left over, but instead of spending it on the car, I would invest it. I would invest it into other things. I would invest it into the gym. I would invest it into the business. I would invest it into the stock market, whatever. I had a lot of things that I'd rather do than put money into the car. And slowly but surely, I'd have money left over. And that's when I'd start, doing what I wanted to do. Sorry, I'm in a private road and the car just drove by. Not private, but it's a really secluded place and the car just drove by. But, that's when I started to do it. So over time, I started building the car how I wanted it. But I realized one thing, I could go into fat debt and get the car looking how I want it. I could just not go out a whole month, not do anything a whole month, and get the car looking how I wanted to get it. But I can't fathom, spending so much money on a car, knowing that I could be using that money to make more money. Internal conflict. You see how I circled back? You should subscribe. I'm gonna be big. I promise you that. That's an internal conflict. Because I really wanted this car to be where, like I said, I just described it to you. But I couldn't fathom. There wasn't a part of me that was like, yeah, that seems reasonable. No part of me thought that was reasonable. I thought it was stupid. I was like, I'm not going to spend so much money on a car that I already spent so much money on. Oh, matter of fact, I paid this car off in like a year and 2 months, I believe. I was giving fat payments every month. So that's how I paid it off quick. At the end of the day, though, I got the car looking how I wanted it. I got my dream truck, my Silverado that I was driving early. My Cat Eye. I know it might not be your dream truck. I know it might be an old truck to you. But at the end of the day, when I started getting the trucks in high school as well, that was the truck that I wanted. That exact spec. I wanted a 2500 Cat Eye, a C71 in I think it's called Racing Red or Victory Red. In Victory Red. I wanted a level kit on it. I wanted it on method wheels. I wanted it with the 6.0. The V8, it's pretty much an LS2. You just need to change like everything, but it's an LS2, I promise you. But yeah, that I got it where I wanted it. There's still a lot of things I can do to it, interior wise, exterior wise. It could use a touch up on the paint. It could, upholster fix the upholstering, whatever. But I got that where I wanted it. I got this car where I wanted it. Now, could I do more to it? Of course. Am I going to? Probably. But I'm not going to rush into it. I feel like that's the problem with a lot of people. You instant gratification. You rush into it. And that's how things become internal conflicts. Because instead of, there's a state patrol coming. Instead of finding out what you want to do, alright, he didn't swing by. Finding out what you want to do, you start looking for things that you could get instant pleasure out of, Instead of going to the gym and getting your dream body, you'd rather go eat McDonald's, You'd rather go get some food and go sit down and watch the show or do this or do that, Instead of, I don't know. Like I said, like there's a lot of things that I've gone through internally that I've resolved, and I don't want to, like I said, I don't want to get into right now. Maybe in the future. Right now, I just don't. That's not a thing I want to just blurt out into the world on my third video. But, you know what I mean? Like, everything at the end of the day has to be on the path towards your success. In your life, everything that you want in your life has to point towards your path of success. Because once that happens, it's easy. It's easy. Like I said, I'm not where I want to be, but I'm on the right path. I know I'm on the right path, you know? And when something doesn't work out the way I wanted to, hey, at least I tried that. You know, if that path doesn't take me where I want, you know what? It's fine. I can get right back on this path and keep going forward. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, I'm working towards a goal. I'm working towards where I want to be. And the more effort and the more time I spend on that, you know, I will get there. It's impossible to not get there, bro. It's like being stuck, you know, being stuck in a cave. You know, if you keep clawing at the rocks, okay, that's an extreme example. It's like erosion. Look at water. Look at water. If you get a rock and you put an infinite water source right here, and it starts dropping water over probably thousands of years, I'm guessing, that rock will start forming a hole. It'll start forming a hole, it'll start cracking, and then eventually it'll split in two. Because with enough time, with enough effort, everything can be done. Everything can be achieved. You know? Now, there's obviously there's extremes. You know, I'm never going to be able to fly physically. Like, I'm not going to, you know, grow wings or whatever. Maybe in the future I don't know, there'll be genetic modifications that make you grow wings. Whatever, that's not the point. But you see, it's possible. It's possible. You just have to put your mind to it, and you have to think, okay, I can do this. You have to be crazy. Like, you genuinely have to be crazy. You have to be delusional. You have to have people telling you, bro, you're dreaming way too high. Like, that's not going to happen. Because it is going to happen. You know? When I was younger, I would tell people, bro, I want to get into this. I want to do that. I want to do this. I want to do that. And I did. I'm here. I just worked on a house earlier today. After that, I went to the bank. You know? After that, I got money to pay my sub. When I started working construction, when I was 16, 17, and I started finding out how this worked, I was like, bro, if I could just be like a contractor, you know, that'd be amazing. Like, that'd be like everything. Now, look. Now, like I said, excuse me, obviously, I want to disclose this. I'm going to disclose this all the time. I'm never going to stop disclosing this because I want people to understand that my path is different from your path. My dad gave me a really big head start. My dad helped me out very, very drastically. If it wasn't for my dad, I'd probably be a few years behind. But thanks to my dad, I am where I want to be. And I at least, you know, my wife told me this. Never thought of it like this. My wife told me this. I wanted to be here, so I'm here. Because if I didn't want to be here, it doesn't matter how much my dad would have tried, I would have never been here. And that's a fact. Because my dad didn't just hand all this to me. I had to work to get here. I had to put in effort. I had to do this. I had to do that. And now I'm here. So at the end of the day, like I said, it doesn't matter where you come from. It doesn't matter what you're working for. What matters is how you work for it. How you get there. That's what matters. Because I could be like, yeah, I want to be a super rich, you know, tech CEO. I don't work in tech. Do you see me studying tech? I don't study tech. I don't know anything about it. You know, I want to have a massive dividend portfolio. I'm not studying the stocks. I'm not out here, okay, what stock is going to give me the best, you know, return every month? No, I'm not studying that. No, I don't. So it's like, how can I sit here and say that I want something if I'm not working for it? You get me? It's pretty simple, and I feel like I might be overthinking it. I might just be over-explaining it, honestly. But I feel like a lot of people don't realize that, because a lot of people say they want this or they want that, but they don't work towards it. They show the complete opposite thing. I know people like that. I was friends with people like that, and it broke my heart. It genuinely broke my heart seeing how a lot of my friends who I would sit at the lunch table with in school, you know, or we go out to get food or whatever, and we talk, and they'd be like, yeah, like, I want to do this, I want to do that, I want, you know. I'm not friends with them anymore. Because it's not because they're not doing the same things I'm doing. It's not because they don't have, you know, the same goals that I have. It's because they don't have the drive that I have. So they would see me as crazy. I'd explain to them my ideas, my plans, and I'd tell them, like, we can go in on this together. Like, we can become something together. They thought I was crazy. So it's like, why would I want to be friends with someone like that? The people that I surround myself with fully support me, and they're all as delusional as I am. And maybe we're all just delusional and stupid and we're not going to get anywhere. Who knows? At the end of the day, I know what I'm working towards. I know that if I try hard enough, I'm going to get there. I know it. I've seen it happen. Everyone that's successful that I've talked to has told me the same thing. I've sat down with these people. I've sat down with millionaires. I've sat down with successful businessmen. I've sat down with all of them. I've talked to them. And if you listen to what they say, it's the same thing. I came up from nothing. I could have had help. I had help. They had help. A lot of people had help. But at the end of the day, it's their drive. It doesn't matter. You can lead a horse to water. You can put the bucket up to his mouth. If it doesn't want to drink, it's not going to. And that's you. That's you. Drink. Drink the water. Drink the water. That's it. Just go. It's not hard. It's not hard as in it's super easy to do. It's not hard as in it's simple. It's really simple. Let me nerd out real quick. I used to play this really fantastic game, probably the best game of all time. It was called Fallout 4. And in Fallout 4, you could build settlements. It's based in a wasteland, a nuclear apocalyptic wasteland, whatever. And you could build settlements for people. You could build little towns and you could feed people. You grew crops and you purified water, whatever. And then people would work in the farms, right? One thing that they would say that there was a lot of repeated dialogue, but one thing the settlers would say that has stuck to me to this day is this: you work and you eat. It's as simple as that. And it really is. All my lights are on because of the ABS module, by the way. It's like $2,000 to repair it, and it doesn't really affect drivability, so I'm not going to replace it. Maybe later on, I don't know. I mean, the car's already almost at 200k miles, so I don't care. But let me do a quick pull. This car go away.